I put together a list of some players that could break out in March Madness, so I figured it was worth sharing. These are players that either are under the radar right now or could take another leap who are already notable as far as their national recognition, given what they might be able to do in the NCAA tournament. I've said the women's tournament actually has more star power than the men's side, I believe. When you look at the upper echelon, Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, Hannah Hidalgo, Lauren Betts to a degree. Then the coaches, Gino, Oriema, Dawn Staley, Kim Mulkey. But there are a bunch of other players who deserve a little recognition and love and who could elevate themselves in the tournament. So without further ado, here's a look at said list. I didn't really put it in actual like order, right? Like I didn't label it 8 through 1. It's an Elite 8 list. A little play on words there. But nonetheless, here is who I had. Georgia Amoore, Kentucky, point guard, heading into the WNBA draft, has had a really nice season. Could put her playmaking prowess on display against Juju Watkins and USC if they were to meet in the Sweet 16. Then you got Isaiah James of NC State. If they can make a Final Four run again, she's a really exciting player with the ball in her hands. One of those ones that makes you go sometimes with the moves that she's able to make out on the floor. Like this one right here, you can see James out in transition, putting the ball behind her back. Worth some oohs, worth some ahs. Right there. So if NC State is able to make a run, of course, she could gather more attention as the tournament goes along. They made that run a season ago. Then there is Michaela Williams of LSU. I think LSU is a sleeper team in the tournament. If they're healthy, that is. Kim Mulkey rested Flau'jae Johnson. They've got Anissa Morrow. And then sort of under the radar is Williams, who's got a really sweet shooting stroke. She's won some games. She's got good court vision. So I wouldn't be surprised if LSU winds up in the Final Four, to be honest, depending on how things shake out, but mostly depending on their health. If they're not healthy, they might lose early. It's hard to tell until you see them out on the floor. Michayla Blakes of Vanderbilt has the freshman scoring record already, 250-plus point games this season. A lot of people might not know about that actually and what she's been able to do on the floor, but it also depends on what Blakes and Vanderbilt are able to do as far as advancing, right? Like they could, if they were to upset, I think, Duke in the round of the tournament, then she could put herself on the map even further. If they're eliminated early, obviously it would peter out a bit and they're not considered some sort of juggernaut going in, but you can see effort getting to the basketball, putting it back up. You can see here ability to drive, buy, and get to the cup. And in this next clip, a little bit of the shooting stroke to score from the outside. Good ball movement there. Cash. So Blakes is another player who could make her name known in this NCAA tournament. Working our way down, you've got Lucy Olsen of Iowa. Iowa played really well the second half of the season. She outplayed Juju in that game against USC. They almost beat UCLA. Stepped into a tough spot, not replacing Caitlin Clark, but in that void. Her mid-range shot-making ability stands out. Ta'Niya Latson has both flown under the radar and been on the radar all season, but it depends on what they do in the tournament. She led the nation in scoring. Michayla Williams gets a lot of attention, but she hasn't had that much production yet. And I could argue Chloe Kitts and Joyce Edwards would belong on that list as well. Edwards, the freshman. Kitts has really kind of carried South Carolina at times down the stretch. But Wiley just has that captivating game, the kind of game that gets folks on their feet. And she thrived in her role, especially the second half of the season. They're going to need her to score in order to repeat. She can do stuff like that in front of the largest audiences. I think it could really be her coming out party. I mean, this is just sweet. What a finish. And then finally, the number one player, again, these are not in order, but would be the number one player for me is Sarah Strong of UConn. She just has such a unique combination of size, skill, basketball IQ. One of the best prospects I've ever seen is Sarah Strong. And I think it's not out of the realm of possibility she could be the best player in the country or considered the best all-around player in the country by the end of the tournament, depending on how things shake out. Look, it would be like Paige's send-off if they win a championship, so it's going to be tough to break through that. Or if Juju beats them, then everybody's going to want to coordinate Juju. But I think you get my overall point. If you want to enter my Hoopin Havoc NCAA Tournament picks contest, you can join that in the description. The link is down there below. $10 entry fee. Win your share of prizes. Compete every week. A bunch of different things you can pick below, hosted by Spark It. But let's get as many people on that leaderboard as we can, as we are there. We're at March Madness. And then all of a sudden, it's the WNBA draft and the WNBA season. Let's go.